Okay, just a little update video number 3 for friends and fans of the Frosty Nut and the great Rowsfire A107 mini overhead panel for use with the Fenix and various others that are being worked on. And we're back to show and demonstrate what is going on here with the Fenix. Now, I have set up a momentary push on the APU start button for the same thing, and also the external power. I've double checked the code and everything, and I have found that occasionally, and this is what's causing the issue, occasionally the Fenix button sticks in the simulator. It's not depressing as far enough. Now, if we press the button, I've set it up back to the way it should be with the Rowsfire, and we press it in and nothing happens. Push it out, push it in. Sometimes you got to do this a couple of times. On now, I push it in and I want it to go off. Okay, it's in the off position, raised position, on. Won't come on, but when it raised, it clicked on. Do it again, try and get it to the off position. It's raised, it's in the off position. Press it on, and it's not going on. Raise it up, and it will come on. Push it down, nothing is happening. But I have had it working so that it was correct. It is just not responding correctly because of the button in the sim itself. Now, over with the mouse on the button here, and you can see it doesn't actually seem to move as much. So maybe it's somewhere in the configuration for the Fenix to actually set this up properly. If I push it with the mouse on and off, 9 out of 10 times it works very effectively. But then a couple of times I click my mouse a couple of times and it won't move. So it's not as responsive as it should be, which can have a delayed effect on the actual overhead panel. On, should be on, raised up, goes on, pushed in, nothing's happening. And we can check our Mobi Flight config again, and we can see now with the external power, the one that I set up, which is on the APU start button. Let's see what happens with that. Right, so that's on the APU start button. Now I'm going to push the APU start button. It's a momentary button. And you can see even pressing it, it's slow to respond. Press it again. Press it again. Press it again. So that took 2 presses. If I press and hold it for a second, and then release, nope, nothing happened. So that's a press. All right, so I'll try this again and try to demonstrate what I'm doing. So I'll move the camera here for a second so you can see. So on the APU start button. Okay, I press it once. And see, it didn't respond. Press it again. And it responds. Press it again. It doesn't respond. Press it again. And it responds. And this is a momentary switch, so it really doesn't matter whether there's a momentary switch up in here or not. I mean, technically it would be better, but it doesn't really seem to matter because it's not a fault of the unit or the software. It's a fault with the Fenix. And we can see that. See? I've pressed it. And the thing is, every time I press it, Mobi Flight knows I've pressed it. And it sent the signal to the sim. But you can see there that I've had to push it like twice at a time. So I push it once. Nothing happens. I push it again. And it goes off. Right? I push it now to turn it on. And nothing happens. I push it again to turn it on. And it goes on. I push it to turn it off. Nothing happens. Again, I push it to turn it off, and nothing happens. So this is what I'm saying. Okay, so it's not an issue as such of having a momentary switch in here. It's the fact that the signal is delayed with the Fenix and it's not with the fly-by-wire, as proven in the other video that I just did. So there is a delay because here we pushed it in and we pull it out. So there's a delay in activating the actual switch in the sim. Oh, I haven't got it turned on in MobiFlight. That's why that's not responding. Okay, so now I've just turned that back on in MobiFlight. Let's see what happens. Press it once. And nothing happens. Release it. And the power's coming on. Press it in. Nothing happens. Release it. And the power goes off. Now, that is not a fault with the configuration, because you can clearly see here we're on the overhead one for the Fenix. Now I have turned off all of these. I'll turn them off again so that is on the fly-by-wire, so I'll make sure they're turned off. In fact, I will actually just export that little bit of code I've done and then remove it. Sorry, try to figure out how to do that. I'll do that later because I have to figure that one out. But anyway, come back over to here. Okay, so we can see that with the external power button, we can see that it's on, and you watch when it's pressed in, you can see MobiFlight says pressed, but nothing's happening in the sim. And when I release it, then it comes on and it says release. So now we're getting the effect happening only when it's released and not when it's pressed. Why is it so? I don't know. It's confusing to me because now we look at the config. We can see on press, we're pressing the electrical. The preset code is there. Now I looked at the code and I had an experiment with the code, but I couldn't see anything. Did not see anything wrong with the code that was going to change it. And if we go to on release, you can see we've got the same thing set, and we look at the code, and there's no difference between that code, no difference to that code to the on press code. No difference whatsoever. So when it's pressed, it should execute that code, and when it's released, it should execute that code. And it's only doing it when it's released. Why is it so? I'm not sure. So this again is something that has to be experimented with, something that has to be looked at, but I think it's a fault with the Fenix. So the next video you'll see will be a downgrade of the Fenix, and we will see what happens there. If we downgrade back to earlier versions of the Fenix, will we have the same issue or maybe not? And maybe when Rowsfire actually tested all this configuration, it was with an earlier version of the Fenix and had no issue. That's a possibility. So stay tuned for the next video, and we'll find out what is around the corner as we try to resolve or solve this interesting puzzle about why the Fenix will not respond to MobiFlight quite as good as it should. Thanks a lot, guys. Don't forget, use code FrostyNut at the checkout for any Rowsfire product and get 12% off. And join me again for more fun-filled adventures. But I love the A107. To me, it sits proudly on my desktop and will soon be mounted overhead, and it's a brilliant product. Definitely, it's one of the cheaper ones on the market, and build quality is a little... you know, for the price, the build quality is quite good. It's stable, strong. It may be not as perfect as some of the higher end ones, but then you get what you pay for. And I think Rowsfire have, for the price point, have given you something that you can use as an overhead effectively, that not only looks good, is stylish and practical, but works effectively 100%. Apart from a few glitches here, but this is not a fault of the product, and it's not a fault of MobiFlight. This is a fault of the Fenix. And we're going to solve this in time. Thanks a lot, guys. Tune in again to the next video, and in the meantime, stay frosty.